Beginning before longtime Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu was moved to a different post, there have been at least 5 arrests of senior defense officials.
The issue of corruption within the Russian military has long been a significant concern, but recent exposures have brought the problem into sharper focus. These revelations have profound implications not only for the internal dynamics of Russia's defense establishment, but also for the broader geopolitical landscape, especially concerning Russia's ongoing military engagements. The persistence and scale of corruption within the Russian military apparatus have wide-ranging consequences, affecting operational efficiency, troop morale, and the overall strategic posture of the Russian Federation. Corruption in the Russian military is deeply entrenched, manifesting in various forms such as embezzlement, bribery, procurement fraud, and nepotism. The origins of this systemic corruption can be traced back to the Soviet era, where a lack of transparency and accountability created fertile ground for corrupt practices. In the post-Soviet period, these issues were exacerbated by economic instability and the chaotic privatization processes of the 1990s, which allowed oligarchs and corrupt officials to entrench their influence further. Recent investigations and whistleblower accounts have shed light on the current extent of corruption within the Russian military. One of the most prominent examples is the procurement process. It has been revealed that contracts for military supplies and equipment are often awarded based on bribes and personal connections rather than merit or cost-effectiveness. This has led to substandard and overpriced equipment being supplied to the armed forces, undermining their operational capabilities. For instance, a significant portion of the budget allocated for modernizing the military has been siphoned off through inflated contracts and kickbacks. Another critical aspect of military corruption is the misappropriation of funds intended for personnel. Reports indicate that salaries and benefits meant for soldiers are frequently skimmed by corrupt officials, leading to widespread discontent among the rank and file. The demoralizing effect of such practices cannot be overstated, as it directly impacts the morale and effectiveness of the troops. There have been numerous instances where soldiers have been deployed to conflict zones without adequate supplies, food, or medical care, all because the funds allocated for these necessities were embezzled. The implications of these corrupt practices are particularly evident in Russia's ongoing military engagements. The war in Ukraine, which has seen significant Russian military involvement, has highlighted the detrimental effects of corruption on combat effectiveness. Inadequate equipment, poor logistical support, and low troop morale have all been cited as factors contributing to Russia's struggles in achieving its strategic objectives. Corruption has also been linked to intelligence failures and operational blunders, further complicating Russia's military campaigns. Internationally, the exposure of corruption within the Russian military has significant repercussions. It undermines Russia's credibility as a military power and diminishes its influence on the global stage. Allies and adversaries alike view Russia's military capabilities with increased skepticism, potentially altering the strategic calculations of other nations. For instance, NATO and other Western powers may feel emboldened in their support for Ukraine, perceiving Russia as a less formidable adversary due to its internal dysfunctions. The Russian government's response to these corruption revelations has been mixed. On the one hand, there have been public declarations of intent to combat corruption within the military. High-profile cases have led to the prosecution and imprisonment of some officials, which serves as a deterrent and a signal to both domestic and international audiences that the government is taking the issue seriously. Instead, they claim that such measures are primarily aimed at appeasing public discontent and deflecting attention from higher-level corruption that involves senior officials and influential oligarchs. The persistence of corruption within the Russian military can also be linked to broader political and economic structures in Russia. The centralized control exerted by the Kremlin over various state institutions, including the military, creates an environment where loyalty is often valued over competence and integrity. This has led to a culture of impunity, where officials feel protected by their political connections, further entrenching corrupt practices. The economic impact of military corruption is another critical aspect that warrants attention. The diversion of funds intended for defense to private pockets undermines the overall economic stability of the country. It leads to inefficiencies and wastage that hamper economic growth and development. Furthermore, the reliance on corrupt practices to sustain the military-industrial complex means that innovation and competitiveness are stifled. This has long-term implications for Russia's ability to develop and deploy advanced military technologies, which is crucial for maintaining its strategic edge. Despite these challenges, there are some indications that efforts to combat military corruption are gaining traction. Civil society organizations and independent media have been instrumental in bringing these issues to light, often at great personal risk. Additionally, international pressure and the imposition of targeted sanctions on corrupt officials and entities have had some effect in curbing the worst excesses. The global community's increased focus on transparency and accountability in defense spending is also pushing Russia to adopt more stringent anti-corruption measures. Looking ahead, the fight against military corruption in Russia is likely to be a protracted and difficult one. It will require a comprehensive approach that addresses the root causes of corruption and implements systemic reforms. Moreover, there needs to be a cultural shift within the military and broader society that stigmatizes corrupt behavior and rewards. The consequences of failing to address military corruption are dire. It not only undermines Russia's military effectiveness, but also erodes public trust in the government and its institutions. This can lead to increased social unrest and political instability as citizens grow disillusioned with the pervasive corruption that affects all aspects of their lives. In the long term, unchecked military corruption could diminish Russia's ability to project power and defend its interests, leaving it vulnerable to both internal and external threats. In conclusion, the exposure of corruption within the Russian military has far-reaching implications for the country's military effectiveness, economic stability, and international standing. While there have been some efforts to address the issue, much more needs to be done to tackle the systemic and deeply entrenched nature of corruption. The stakes are high, not only for Russia's future as a military power, but also for the broader geopolitical balance. As the world continues to grapple with the complexities of modern conflict, the integrity and effectiveness of military institutions remain paramount. For Russia, the fight against military corruption is not just a matter of internal policy, but a critical component of its national security strategy. So, what do you think of our video? Let us know in the comments section below. If you enjoyed this video and want to hear from me again, be sure to hit that subscribe button before you go. Thanks for watching.